Howard Schultz has a net worth of $3.4 billion according to Forbes. He's the driving force behind Starbucks' massive success. He took charge of Starbucks in 1982 when there was only 11 stores, and under his charge, Starbucks expanded to 34,000 stores. According to Forbes, Starbucks holds the 59.2% market share of the coffee industry in the States. Its nearest competitor, McDonald's, holds only 16.3%, while Dunkin's holds only 14.4% of the market share. Though Starbucks controls the majority of the coffee market, interestingly, the company didn't sell coffee drinks at the start. In 1993, Howard Schultz went to Italy and was impressed by its cafe culture. As he once said, "The Italians had created the theater, romance, art, and magic of experiencing espresso." So Howard Schultz went to his bosses and brought the idea of latte, and eventually Starbucks started to offer lattes at some of its stores to test the concept. In 1994, with the help of PepsiCo, Starbucks started their bottled drink Mazagran. Some people liked it, while many disliked it. As the partnership with PepsiCo was huge, Starbucks continued to sell, and in 1996, with some improvements, they founded the most loved cold coffee today, the Frappuccino. Today, Starbucks has a revenue of $29 billion and has over 383,000 employees. Want to know how Howard Schultz made Starbucks the most lovable coffee ever? Watch the full video. We at Business Chronicles tell the stories of extraordinary successful people. Please subscribe to our channel to help us in making more videos. Schultz was born on July 19, 1953, in Brooklyn, New York, to Ashkenazi Jewish parents. His father, Fred, was a truck driver. He has two siblings and says they all grew up in the Canarsie public housing projects with little money. As Howard Schultz said, "My life experience was different. Growing up in this melting pot in Canarsie in Brooklyn, we were all trying to climb the ladder of the American dream. Every family. The struggle everyone had at the time was the same." He attended the Boys Club of New York, which has since bestowed the privilege of lifetime membership upon him for being a special member of the BCNY community. Schultz attended Canarsie High School and went on to Northern Michigan University between 1971 and 1975, gaining a communications degree. In 1971, 3 college friends decided to sell coffee beans. These friends were Jerry Baldwin, Zev Siegel, and Gordon Bowker. They opened their first store at Seattle's famous Pike Place Market. They named it Starbucks. The name was taken from the novel Moby Dick by Herman Melville. Their store was very successful, and within the next decade, they expanded to 5 stores in Seattle. During the 1970s, there was no concept of coffee houses, and no one would expect coffee drinks at these stores. However, the owners of Starbucks provided test drinks. These test drinks were so popular that soon the owners realized that they could focus on selling coffee rather than selling only coffee beans. That was the time they hired Howard Schultz, who would later make Starbucks the premium brand of coffee drinks. After leaving college, Schultz spent a year working at a ski lodge in Michigan, then worked as a salesman for Xerox in New York City. Swedish kitchenware manufacturer PAI Partners recruited him in 1979, appointing him general manager of Hammerplast, its U.S. subsidiary which makes coffee machines. He visited Starbucks in 1981 to fulfill their orders of plastic cone filters. By 1982, he was their director of retail marketing and operations and rose to the chairman's position in 1985. In between travel, while traveling to Italy in 1983, he was intrigued to discover that there was 1,500 coffee houses just in the city of Milan, and he visited 200 of them. This incredible density inspired him to believe that through rapid store expansion, he could achieve something similar back home, turning a small regional operation into a national chain. He founded his own store, Il Giornale, in 1985, and with backing from several investors, including Starbucks, opened its first store in 1986. 2 years later, Starbucks decided to change focus to the Peet's Coffee and Tea brand, sold the retail business to Schultz and Il Giornale for $3.8 million. Interestingly, Schultz did not believe in franchising, and so the company retained ownership of every single domestic store. Between 1987 and 1991, the business expanded from fewer than 20 stores to more than 100. The stock market flotation took place in 1992, and by 2000, Starbucks was running stores in 2,500 locations across more than a dozen countries. Schultz stepped down as CEO in 2000, moving to the position of Chief Global Strategist. Between the late 2000s and early 2010s, under Schultz's direction, the business was opening 1 to 2 stores a day in mainland China. Starbucks' positioning in the market as a social hub is widely viewed as the introduction of the second wave of U.S. coffee culture, especially in Seattle. The stock market flotation raised $271 million for the business and enabled it to double its stores. Companies like McDonald's and Dunkin' Donuts battled Starbucks for market share, causing the stock price to tumble by 75% between 2006 and 2008. There was revenue growth, but this tended to depend on the opening of a new store, which did create growth, but not the sustainable kind. So in 2008, in the midst of global financial crisis, Schultz returned as Starbucks CEO. It was a troubled time during which the company was being criticized for its treatment of staff and its tipping policies. Baristas brought a class action lawsuit against the company in California, which resulted in Schultz and the board approving a $100 million settlement in back tips. Following this, Schultz instigated a mass culling of executives and the closure of hundreds of stores. He also presided over the temporary closing of every U.S. location in order to retrain staff in espresso making. In the following 2 years, he also upped the company's purchase of fair trade coffee, doubling its previous annual purchase levels. At the time, Schultz was earning an annual salary of $1.2 million with stock options on top worth $7.8 million. He was also an investor in Jamba Juice and a board member of Square Inc., a payment processing company until 2014. That year, Schultz started up the Starbucks College Achievement Plan, partnering with Arizona State University to give any of his employees working longer than a 20-hour week the ability to take ASU online courses for free. Between 2008 and 2017, the company's market capitalization increased by almost $100 billion under Schultz. He stepped away from the CEO position again in 2016 and became executive chairman. He took up the position once more in March 2022. Schultz was the majority owner of the Seattle Supersonics professional basketball team, along with its women's counterpart, Seattle Storm, between 2001 and 2006. He was criticized for his sale of the team to a group that then moved it to Oklahoma City and has subsequently stated that he considers it one of the biggest mistakes of his professional life. Schultz set up venture capital firm Mavron in 1998 alongside Dan Levitin, an investment banker. The company's primary investments are startups and consumer-focused companies like Zulily, Shutterfly, and eBay. The company had assets under management worth $1.3 billion. Schultz also owns a 77-meter-long luxury super yacht, which is worth $120 million. Schultz and his wife co-founded the Schultz Family Foundation in 1996, which supports Onward Youth, promoting employment for 16 to 24-year-olds who aren't working or in education. It also supports Onward Veterans, which helps post-9/11 military veterans to transition successfully into civilian life. Howard Schultz was born to a very poor family and grew up in a very rough place. Throughout his childhood, he struggled to afford very basic things, so he always wanted to rise in society. He worked hard and studied well. His luck struck when he made a trip to Italy, the trip which changed his life. He knew that the idea he was looking his whole life for, and the idea of a coffee house, was the perfect opportunity to climb the socioeconomic ladder and build a business empire. As once Howard Schultz said, "The American dream, the entrepreneurial opportunities, that's what gave me the opportunity." Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to watch more videos like this.